Let's get this show on the road. I'm a little bit late. How's everybody doing? I hope you're all doing well. Tonight, I'm going to get back to working on the map, and one of the things we got to do is put all the crops that we had in PV Rivers over into the new map. It's actually labeled new map on my desktop. See that? New map. So, I'm just going to preface this whole thing, I hope you guys all can hear me okay, by saying that this stuff is like, sometimes if you go away from it for a little while, it gets a little tricky remembering some of the stuff. So if I screw up, I screw up. But let's take a look at our new map. We'll start off. This is going to be probably boring stuff. We're going to be working in the editor, in the files themselves a little bit, but I think there's a lot of people out there that want to know how to do this. So, we're going to show you how, and I got to do it anyway, and we'll bring in all the crops. I'm going to take a look right now. I'm opening up the map in Notepad++. It takes a while. Notepad++ does. And what you want to do is search for foliage sublayer. I already did, so the map's already open there. And I also have a copy of PV Rivers opened up, and you could see, whoops, if you scroll past it, I mean there's so many lines in this, it jumps like crazy. So if Control F, search for foliage sublayer again, there we are. And the foliage sublayers here are all the crop types in the PV Rivers map we're looking at right now. They're labeled an index number 1 all the way down to 29. Now, a standard map only takes 15 crops, so we have to make some changes in order to put these, update our map so we can add more crops. And the way we do that is, if you see this density map channel offset 6, and on the windrows it's 10, we have to up all of those in our other map right here. 4 and 8 would be 15 fruit types, so if you did 5 and 9 you'd get 32, and 6 and 10 gives us 64 possible fruit types that can grow on the map. So I'm going to highlight that and search, replace density map channel offset, copy that one down into here, and I got to replace all those with 6s for starters. Actually, I'm going to do it individually because it's going to change the 8s to all the 6s. So basically just go down, change all the 4s, I'm changing it to 6s so that we can have 64 fill types in the map. Make sure you get them all. Sometimes there is a windrow layer. Any density map channel offset we want to get up to 6. That is a 4. And then the windrow layers are all a number higher, and the halm layers for beets and potatoes, well, they're a little bit different. Onion is set to 5 already. That's not right, but we're going to change that to 6. And then for all the 8s, I got to bring those up to 10s. And those are the windrow layers. As you can see, wheat windrow, grass windrow, barley windrow, dry grass windrow. Hey KW, how's it going? I'll make some spelling errors as I go here, I'm sure. 10. Sugar beet halm, bring that up to a 10. Oat windrow gets a 10. Rye windrow, 10. Dinkle, we got a couple new ones. I'm going to leave them in the map. Why not? They're already added in to the default map, but Dinkle, Triticale. The only thing I'm curious about is this sunflower one down here. I might pull that out. I want sunflower in the map, but the sunflowers there's going to be changes. I don't know what they're going to be yet. And this sunflower here is going to be able to face the sun. So Giants is going to have a whole new sunflower. I'm going to leave this in for now, but when the time comes, we're probably going to have to edit that line when the editor comes out and see how they make the new sunflowers. This might have other parameters and stuff too. I'm hoping that most of it stays the same. We may have to make changes later. But for now, that's where we're going to start. So we have, I'm going to make a list here because I'll end up duplicating some of these. And you can't see it, but I'm going to be writing on my pad on my desk that we already have oat, rye, let's see what else is not, dinkle and triticale. Dinkle, triticale, carrot, and onion are in the map. But now we can add up to 64 because we upped those. The other thing I have to check, the number of channels here, we'll go over to the other map. It only says density map 64, number of channels 14. I am going to update the density map to 6. That's the map ID. That's right. That doesn't have to change. The map ID actually refers to the density map file number, which would be 33 up here in the file section. Right there it is, fruit density map. So that we want it to stay the same. It's like I said, it's been a while since I did this, so we're going to test some things out, make sure as we go. Number of channels 15 on this one, and number index type channels is 4. We have to, I don't know why that's a 14 in this map and 15 in the other, but the number type index channels has to go up to 6 as well. And that's all I'm going to do for now. I'm going to save this and check for errors in the editor before we get into adding all the new ones in. So we'll bring this up. And I might have done a class on this. I don't know if I did or not. But important things to know. And Data Guy Wink, thank you for the follow. I also think I missed Farm Sim Reface and CITC 200 and Chevy Strong from the other days. Brussels Picker. Alright, so important thing. When you're doing this type of thing, keep your script window open. You'll see the map loaded up without errors. And if all goes well, we should still have all of our crop types in the foliage layers. And we do. Rye, rye windrow, oat, oat windrow. So we're good. They're all there. Now it's time to get some of the ones from Pleasant Valley Rivers. All the ones that we don't have yet have to be added back into this map. And you could do this for any map, the whole process. So we will look for, I'm going to look for peanuts and some other crop types, and we'll see how many we can get into this map. I want this map to be more focused on farming, probably a little bit less of the factory work, but I want to have as many interesting crop types as we can get into this map. So, going down the list, we got to grab millet. We're going to do one at a time here. I'm going to highlight this whole millet line, foliage sublayer millet. It's number 11, but over here, we're going to put it at the bottom. And you can do these one at a time. It's easier to check for errors as you go. Density map index has to go up 1, so from the last one, because his crop number is 16. And I shouldn't have to change the density map offsets because they're all good. The material ID, we're going to look at this. Material ID 143, okay? This is going to be a little bit confusing for the first time. Let's go back to the other one, and this is the PV Rivers view, and I'm going to search for 143, and it's going to be up from where we are. So here we have, and you got to make sure it's material. We're looking for it when the one that highlights material ID 143. It'll pick any number that's 143. I suppose I could have put it in quotation marks. That would probably limit it down to just the ID 143. There you go. Material ID 143. So we're going to copy this section right here, the whole material ID from the beginning millet material down to, actually if you highlight the first tag, it'll tell you where the end tag is, and you want to grab the whole thing. So we're going to copy that section over to, and we're going to just go up a bit. The foliage sublayers are right below the material IDs, and I'm pointing at the screen and you guys can't see that, but I just went up a little bit further above the foliage sublayers, and at the end of the materials list before this materials tag, I'm going to paste the millet material in there. Now when we're doing this, it's very critical that we don't get duplicate numbers in the map. So the way I do things is I'm going to change the material ID. I'm going to put a 100 in front of it. When you load and save a map, these numbers automatically realign, but if we already have something that's 143 in there, then it's going to screw everything up. So I'm going to rename the material ID to 100 143, and down below, back to this line, I got to do the same thing. We're going to call 100 143, and then we're going to look at everything else. Distance map IDs are all pointing to files as well. Now this is a little bit tricky. I'm going to go over to the millet in the other one and see, let's go back down to find past all the materials. The foliage sublayers will appear. There's a lot of materials in this map, so maybe I'll just search for foliage sublayer. This stuff can be interesting. What I'm doing right now is looking at our millet layer, which is right, where are you? Right here is millet. Alright. And I'm comparing these ID numbers, 65 and 66, 67, 68, 69, and 62 are the same as wheat. So there's no need to bring new images in. They're pointed to wheat, the same numbers as the wheat would be here. Are for millet, they're absolutely the same, even the same layout. So what we have to do on our new map is go over here, find our wheat numbers. They're different because they're pointing to where the files are, and each map is different. And I'm going to grab these distance map IDs for wheat because they're the same for millet, and I'm just going to copy them down into the millet window, or yeah, millet window, just millet, and paste over the top of the ones that are there, Control V. So they have to match the wheat. Some of them have their own and we'll have to bring the images in, but I kind of knew, because I've done this one quite a bit, that millet uses the wheat textures for distance maps, and a distance map is how it views the crop in the distance. Some of them on the map I know are a little off. Later on, if we have time, we'll adjust them. We don't have to touch any of the unit sizes. That's good. Number of blocks per unit and all that width. That's all the information on the crop type, the coordinates and everything. But as we go to the end, number of states 9 and growth states 8 can stay, and then we have the growth time right here. and that tells us the how long the crop takes to grow. Millet takes 2 days. It's in a funky, weird number format. Basically, if you take a single one like 2.4 E00 plus 007, 2 days would be 4.6, 6.8, actually 9.6 is a pretty long millet. We must have bumped that one up to 4 days, I think. I have no idea. We may change some of these down the road, but for now, let me just check this line, make sure everything looks good for millet. And I don't think there's anything else to change there. So basically, all we had to do was insert the distance map IDs on this one, and we made it index 16 with pointing to material 100143. What we have to do now is go up to the material, back up one, and make sure everything there jives with everything else. So, millet material has a customized shader ID. I copied this from another map. So the custom shader ID is probably going to change, as well as the texture file ID. We have to find out what the custom shader ID is, and the best way to do that would be to go down to the wheat windrow line again, and let's find the wheat windrow's material number, which is number 213. And I'm going to do a Control F search for 213, put it in quotes, and here we have it. The custom shader ID in this map is 42 for standard crops. So we want to copy that 42 to the one that we have, and then we'll work on the texture ID, texture file ID. So we're going down to 42, which is at the bottom of the material. Whoops, I did it again. Alright, so the 72s are all going to be 42s. Now I'm just showing you how I do it. There's other ways you could probably do, but these are very important. Your custom shader ID points to a file, and there's another way you could do it. You could go, and that file, I just can't never remember. It's the, if we put the 42 in here and search upwards, all the way to the file section. Whoops, go back down, I went past it. It points to the fruit growth foliage shader XML file number 42. So that's the one that all of the fruits have to point to, that file name. That's why we changed that. Next, we're going to go back down to our, you'll see all the foliage layers in the map point to 42, and it's a different number for the windrows too when we get to those. Texture file ID 122. This is, well, we're going to go back to the other map because this is where we took it from, and we're going to type in 122 here, 122, and search up till we find out what file. It's a texture file, so I don't know if you guys can see this very well. I wish I had a big magnifying glass for this, but we got to get to the file section. File 122 points to textures, foliage, millet, diffuse. Okay, I'm going to copy that line out as well. Foliage, millet, diffuse.dds. I am going to then go back to the other map and go to right above the materials section. If it's short enough, there will be the file section, but the materials in this map shouldn't be too big because we didn't import a lot of things yet. There they are, files. And I'm going to paste that at the bottom of the files, and I'm going to make that a 100, 122 also, so we don't get overlapped. If there's another 122 in here, which there probably is, it would throw an error. So I changed that to 100, 122, and down at the bottom of the material section, which we can find next. Right here, we're going to change that to a 100, 122. That way we know it's not going to overlap with the millet, if there is another 122 in the map. So let's go back up to we're going to go up to find 100, 122 file. There it is. That's the millet material file. Oh, we got to go up. There it is. So it's pointing to textures, foliage, millet, diffuse. That is the file path to the texture file that we need. So let's take a look. I'm going to save this right now because I think everything there is good. And where the map by 3D is, there's a textures, foliage, and this is where all our foliage files end up getting dropped in. And we don't have the foliage, millet, diffuse in here yet. And to speed things up, I'm going to go to PV Rivers, Textures, Foliage, and we're going to, actually we're just going to grab the foliage, millet, diffuse for now. We'll just grab that one. Copy that file over into the new map and paste it in there. So now it will find the file in the right place. And if all goes well, we'll save that. We will load up the map. And if we did it right, we'll be able to put millet on a field and we won't have any errors when we load it up. So let me load up the map, just double check it. And while I'm doing that, hello to Gordon, Leon, Marks, and Amaki. I see you guys out there, Diana, 881, and everybody else that's watching. Thanks for joining me as we are working on this little map here. Alright, so, warning, loading file with invalid case. That I'm not going to worry about. We'll fix that eventually. Invalid case means that the cubemap.dds that is pointing to probably has a capital C or something, but other than that, it looks like we don't have any errors other than that one. And it's funny when you make changes, that didn't pop up before, but now it did. We're going to go in here and take a look in our list and make sure millet shows up in the list, which it does right here. If we were to click on the foliage layer, and then you got to set this to add, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I always forget the bit sets because they change whenever you up the, I think it's 5 and 6. No, it's not 5 and 6. 6. I'm going to find it. 7 is little stubbly stuff. 6 and 7 maybe? Nope. 7 and 8. That is ready to be harvested millet. 7 and 8. So I should write these down because I always forget them. So 7 and 8 is the ready to harvest stage. I imagine if we wanted to paint a field at the beginning, if I do 8 alone, it's growing, it's in a growth stage, and then 8 and 9 is nothing. 9 alone is withered. So those are basically the growth stages when you change your map. When you first highlight this, I want to make a note of this. When you first highlight any of the crop types, say oat for example, it automatically checks the boxes for oat. So foliage channels 0 and 3 for oat are already checked. In order to add the oat to the ground, it would be additional 7 and 8, and there is oat. And you can do that with any of them. Dinkel is 0, 1, and 3 checked. Because it's a 64-bit system, you're going to have more boxes checked. And there is Dinkle right there. So, pretty simple once you get used to it. We already added the millet to the map. Now, it doesn't include any of the textures. That's going to be a whole nother show. We're going to do that the easy way, though. Copy them right over from PV Rivers. While I'm at it, I'm going to start putting some fields in. We'll do a little bit of the field work. I'm going to start kind of outlining what fields I want where in the farm up here. Go in the map and see how big they are. And the way I'm going to do that, I like to draw with a square. Some people like the rounded edges. I like the square edges. I'm going to do a pretty big one. With the terrain foliage paint mode turned on, you go to the real long list and there's a terrain detail on the bottom. And box 0 will be checked. Now when you draw with box 0, you have, oh, he has a different soil in the map. I'll check it out. Box 0, this is a unfertile, it's awful dark. You never know what you're gonna get with these, but I'm gonna check out the textures for, and you just kind of try to make the lines smoother around the edges. And you can do it a lot faster than I'm doing now, but I want to do a couple tests here, and I never remember these either. So 0 is unfertilized, everything. If we add to it, let me see if I can remember this. What is 2? Nope, 2 doesn't do it. I think it's 4 that adds the fertilization. Yeah, you can see if we leave the 0 checked and put a bit of 4, it's very hard to tell, but it is the fertilized field that we're drawing. So if you're going to have it as a starter field, you're going to want it pre-fertilized. You could also pre-fertilize any field on the map, but bit 4 does the fertilization. I'm pretty sure that in combination with 5, it's the same thing, but you notice it changes the angles of the groove. The grooves are now running angled rather than straight. It's very hard to tell with these textures, and I don't know if I want to keep the dark textures, so let's replace those. It'll be easier for you guys to see when I demo this than the really, really dark ones. Hey, Daghost, host 306, how you doing? Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace those textures. And terrain, we have all these terrain textures are in here. But what we're looking for is the full, let's see where they are. I can't remember. It's been a while. Right down here. Ground diffuse textures, ground normal and ground diffuse. These here we want to get from our PV Rivers map. So let me jump into that folder real quick. I'm going to look for some other ones, but for now I'm going to replace them with the PV Rivers because it's lighter. So grab these ground height and ground normals and the ground diffuse, all those fun things right there. The 4 of them that obviously look completely different than the rest of them. And we're going to copy those and bring them over to our new map. Map, textures, foliage, and paste them right over the top of these here. Let's see, come on, give me a thing. And replace the files in the destination. come back over to our map and reload our textures and see what happens. I think those are the only ones we need. It's interesting when you're working on maps for a long time, and it's, like I said, sometimes a long process to make a map, that by the end of the 6 months you're doing so many completely different things, remembering what you did 6 months ago or whatever. When was the last time? I guess we started rivers way back before. It's almost a year ago nowadays. Not quite, but yeah, it could have been a year. The distance textures will replace when we reload the game. That is one of those bugs in here. So you could see, now you could see a lot clearer that when I checked that 5 box, we have the diagonal lines compared to the straight lines. If we want just the straight lines fertilized, it's just the 4 box. If you want to just do the diagonal lines without fertilization, fertilization is the 4. So without it, it's just the 5. Now if we look at 6, we get lines that go completely the other direction. And 5 and 6 probably do something as well. I don't know, but we'll find out. That is the diagonals going this way. And that is pretty much, I believe, the bit set for the direction of the lines that are on the field. So we're going to go with just 4 standard. You don't have to get too technical. Straight up, and it's fertilized. So let's see. I believe, now if I can remember this, which one's 3? Is it 3 and 4? No. 6 and 7? No, 7's not even able to check it. 5 and 6 maybe? There's one of them in here. It might be the first one. I can't even remember. But if you were doing potato fields, maybe it's 0, 1. No, that doesn't do it. 1? Just 1? There it is. 1 is for potato fields without the angle. It looks like that. And with fertilizer being the 4, you can fertilize it. So as you're drawing your fields around your map, those are your options. And we're going to stick with foliage 0. Well, I'm not even going to fertilize this because this field I don't think is going to be a starter field. And let's draw. I'm going to do one thing real quick, which is save and reload so I don't have the dark distance texture. I may have to replace the distance textures on this, but I thought we grabbed those. So we'll save and reload and see if it changes. And reload our map in the editor. That's alright, so we gotta find a distance texture that is not dark. Let's see if we can find the distance textures. Foliage, nope, not there. Map, textures, foliage, and they're all here. This is them. The acre fine, acre planted row, acre sprayed, cultivator, they're all much darker than. So we want to replace all the acre and the cultivator textures with the ones from the other map as well. PV rivers, textures, foliage. Notice they're much lighter here. Grab those files, copy, and I've got multiples of every folder open. We're going to paste those into this and replace the ones that are there. Let me try reloading. I might have to reload the map, but I'll try reloading just the textures. See what happens. And this is back to normal. I'm pretty sure that when the new maps come out for Farming Sim 17, they may have better textures and stuff for this. There's a ton of them online. Just look on the websites for the different soil types, and they even come with the directions to replace them. But very easy to... Alright, see, now that I've updated the textures, we still don't have... This is where we gotta save and reload it, and then it'll get us the proper distance textures. Probably didn't need to save again, but I'd do it just in case. Just in case I changed anything. The Ghost Military nickname. Gotcha. Alright, so now we got our normal distance textures in, and we can start creating our fields by going to our terrain detail layer, and I'm just gonna do 0. 0 is checked. Make sure it's add, square, and it's done with the little tree picture foliage layer. And we're just gonna draw some fields on the map, and up here they're gonna be square fields. It's just the way it is. Now, unfortunately, I don't want to be that close because we want to be able to turn around. You know me, I don't like to. And we also have grass already planted. We'll have to remove that out of the field area. Something's planted there. But I do not like to, yeah, I don't know what I was saying. As we try to get the line straight, I don't like to have it too close, so because it annoys me having things on the edges of the fields that you bump in. So we're gonna fill that in with some. I mean, even if it's trees this time, it's not that bad because we can cut trees down. But to have it run right up against the mountainside, not quite what I was planning. So we got to draw some fields in, and it's tough because when you're zoomed out you can only see so far in the editor. Everything disappears, and I think that strip is just because there's some type of foliage. Let me see if I can find it. The tricky thing is, whoops, I deleted the texture underneath. With the layers on the fields and stuff, when you like the grass, to remove it, you actually have to find out exactly what it is in the list, and it is just regular grass, just an early growth stage. Get that out of there. I'm sure more will pop up on the map in places, but you can kind of see it. There's a strip I missed there. Those are all the little things. So we can go back to our terrain layer, which is the bottom one, and fill that gap in, and just make your field as big as you want. I'm gonna want large fields on this map, but definitely not the whole size of this upper area. We'll probably have, I'm thinking, 4 or more fields. We will size them up in a little bit. These edges are very difficult, but to get square all the way around, as you can see, you gotta zoom right in, and you guys will notice on my maps that sometimes I miss areas and they jut out, but it is important, well, relatively important I should say, to make them look pretty decent. And I usually will draw the borders. I got some more grass in this field. I'll draw the borders of the field, and then you can easily fill in the middle. And then sometimes you'll miss spots in the middle, and then you get people saying, hey, there's a grass spot in field whatever. but you know how it goes. Want to get that out to the edge. I gotta delete all that grass in there. Just try to find out how big you want your field. I'm not sure that I want it this small, but we'll figure that out. And we're going to be doing this. See, I want to start, I'm going to show you guys some of everything. That's my plan. And I got to do this probably another, well, minimum 50 times with fields. Probably more than that, judging on my last maps. So I will do that in between broadcasts, and you'll see the finished product more so. Let me get rid of some of this grass out of here. It's driving me nuts. And you don't have to watch all the repetition of me making 100 fields all the time. You might have to see me do some more, but we will skip a lot of this and try to squeeze as much of the important content into each broadcast. And it's so funny because, yeah, you can see it's just one little block, and sometimes it works better doing these edges with a smaller brush, but you got to do it all the way down. And it could be very easily missed a section. Alright. As I'm doing this, I'm actually thinking of what is a good base field size for the map, because I can make them whatever size we want. And I don't know. I'm thinking somewhere around the 5 hectare range for average field size, with some much larger ones, but I want to get away from all the 0.1 and 0.2. I mean, we're going to have some small ones, I'm sure, to fill in areas, but all in all, I'm thinking 4s and 5s are good. Whoops. That's what happens when you switch to texture layer instead of the terrain layer button, the foliage layer. I want to get rid of grass, not grass windrow, grass in here. Has this slight painted grass on the field. I tried to delete these on the whole map, as you guys seen if you watched earlier broadcast, but it crashes it when I highlight the whole map at once. So as I go around the map, I gotta clean it all up, and we've got some other weed junk growing in here too from the default map. And that stuff here, and it's really basically, see, I'm holding the right mouse button to subtract. You want to set it to subtract to remove things, and it will only remove whatever is selected in the foliage layer. So I have to actually figure out, I think one of them here is Bernice. Yep, you can see that go bye-bye. And we'll go across and make sure all of that is out of there. I still got a strip of grass there. Very difficult sometimes to see grass in the editor. I did actually do a trick once on PV. It's just laziness. On PV17 with all the grass that was going on. Alright, I think I got all the Bernice out of there. Eisenhut? No. What I did was I changed the under layer to pink, bright pink. It made everything stand out so much better. And then I switched the graphic back. Which one is this? Trocken? That's the one. Trocken something or other. So get rid of all that. I don't see any close up. There's some right there. And I'm sure when we get in the map we'll find spots I missed, but there's a line of grass over here, so we gotta go right back to grass. And just go right through here. Make sure I have no grass in my field. And then we can finish in filling in with our terrain detail, texture, oh, wrong one. Foliage layer, terrain detail. And we have sort of the bases of a this actually looks like it might be a pretty small field. I'm gonna jump into the editor and take a look at it, or the game itself, but I want to expand. I know it's small. I'm gonna expand it out a little bit more before we go in there. Also, check the borders, see if there's enough room to turn around on the outsides, that type of thing. It's hard to gauge a lot of this stuff in the editor, and as you guys know from watching the previous broadcasts, I jump in and out of the game a lot just to visualize it a little bit better and see if it's the field size I want to achieve and all that fun stuff before I get too crazy. And I think I just went over bounds there. Pretty straight line, but there's more grass to remove. Get it out of there. There's grass all over here, and this is all gonna be fields, so I'll get some of it out of here. For now, we'll draw grass back in where it's supposed to be. It's very hard to see the grass until I put something underneath it. Alright, I'm going to jump in and see how big that field looks. I'm thinking of another one, maybe 2 fields here, and then 2 more on this side, 4 up above. So let's save that. Your audio is out. Yeah, I'll put these on 3. This is 5. I think 3 is already on YouTube, is it not? I don't know. I sent it. Maybe it didn't copy up there. I think this is 5. I may have the number wrong. We definitely did quite a few of them already. I'm going to minimize all my junk. Oh, I hid my desktop. I got to make sure, where is it? My mod folder switcher is set to my new map folder, and then load that thing up. When 17 comes out, I'm gonna do a new version of the mod switcher for you guys relatively quickly, so you guys will probably get that done in the first week that it's out. It should be just a update. Does anybody out there really plan on continuing to use 15 when 17 comes out? With 17 at the same time? If so, I can create a whole separate version. Maybe MFS 17 or something, but yeah, I'm probably gonna just be doing mostly 15 stuff. Alright, save game. Pick a blank. Whoops. Pick a blank spot and load it up. Gordon Leon Marks plans to still play 15 as when 17 comes out. Yeah, I've been told. I gotta look at it. It's been a while since I wrote that thing. I was thinking about having both of them in the one program so you can choose which game you're using and then the folder, but that might get complicated, so I'll figure out a way to do it. If I have to redo a separate one, we will do that. So let's see if my field is over here. It actually, as I'm walking, is quite small. I could tell unless it's not even visual. Where are you, field? It is very small, so maybe up here it looks like it's going to be small, judging by the area. We're going to definitely have to expand that sucker out. Wow, postage stamp field. Like I said, it's sometimes so hard to sit. The area looks so big in the editor, and then you get up to the field and it's like Not quite the size that I want it. It's probably not even a hectare. Maybe it's more. Oh, and look at, there's a chunk out of the corner. No, it's just drawing in funny. There, it's because a little wave in a land. So, it's pretty good. But actually, when you get here, it looks a lot bigger, doesn't it? When you're crossing it on foot, it looks a lot bigger than it did before. So maybe it is good. Let me go to grab a truck, because I like trucks. Actually, I like this truck. Gonna convert that mod pretty quickly. I need something to drive around when I'm testing, and that's my, as you all know, vehicle of choice for now. So let's bring a truck up above and take a look at it. If there's still lots to do, you will continue it. Yeah, that's understandable. It's funny because I do the same thing. I'll have 15 on my computer for a long, long time, but I don't know if you say you'll get back to it. Boy, that edge needs to be fixed, but we're not there yet. Whoa, what the heck? It kicked me out of the vehicle. Or did I fall? I might have hit a button. That was weird. I probably hit the button. It ejection. Yeah, it is pretty big. We'll get the size. That's the next thing I'm gonna show you guys. Is how to obtain the size of your field and marking the fields. But I'm gonna try, I always try to get the top left corner first. So we'll probably have to draw a few of these fields in. Whoa, wipeout. Before we mark them. And then we'll know the exact size. I could get the size pretty easily, but I'll just be moving markers around. So yeah, it's actually looking pretty good. It's not bad. We might be able to get more. Let's see if I'm harvesting. Yeah, that's a good size field right there. Nice size for starters. And you'll be able to combine these into one eventually, but I think we'll probably do 2 here and then 3 on the other side. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Let's see if we look like we left enough room on the edge to... I can't drive today. My steering wheel's like so sensitive. Alright, we have some grass over here to get rid of. But yeah, I think you can turn around a combine pretty easy on this side. That edge has got to be sharper because people will be just going, let's climb the mountain. And some vehicles would probably get up it. So I got to cut back that edge a little bit. And these are the things area by area. We don't want that ramp. So that'll give us a little more room to turn around as well. And I might plant some trees back there, but you can cut those down if they get annoying anyway. Yeah, plenty of room around the edge for turning around. So let's get back in there and draw up a bunch more of these things. And we will do the same thing, but here's a little thing I do to make sure the edges line up. Well, first of all, let's get back to our foliage layer of terrain detail and shrink this down a little bit. You can see I messed up and it's not exactly square on that edge. Okay. What I do to make sure that the edges line up is very simply, here I'm going to do this field next over here, is I'll draw out a little ways and then put the gutter back in between the 2 fields by deleting it out. And you know that corner is good. And you could do that with the other corner at the other end. and space in between fields. I like to have a little bit, but so you don't run into the other field. It's tough figuring out exactly how I want to do it, but you know, I like large spaces, but most people don't. So a lot of people don't. I won't say most people. They will plow these together anyway. So get our border done. This way of lining them up perfectly is done so that if you guys want to plow out, whoops, a little too much taken off there. If you want to plow them together, you'll still get a nice square field. But I gotta fix that a little bit. But if you want the smaller ones and you want to keep them, just the way I've always done it. And we'll extend this edge out so we can get this corner done. And delete. This cursor's a little bit big for deleting in there. Now you could, I suppose, just draw one big field and then put the lines down. I mean, like I said, I don't always take the easy ways, but it's the way I just been doing it for so long that it's the way I do it. That's all there is to it. I mean, I could fill this whole area in with one huge field and then draw green lines. It'd probably be easier. But I like to kind of gauge the size of them as I'm going and compare them to each other. I don't know if I want to go all the way. We're going to be able to get a field on the other side of that road too, so we might go all the way out to the road or close to it. I want to get some I think the road's going to be tree lined, so we'll probably leave a little bit short. I definitely want more detail and stuff in this map than the other ones I've done in the past. So we're going to leave a little room there. That's a pretty good size. And then continue this edge down. And you can see it's so hard to get a perfect edge, or my eyes are going bad. That too. Staring at too many screens all the time. Now, some of these are going to be starter fields for sure. There's so much I haven't decided on doing yet, and it's really I want to do different things, but you guys have come to expect certain things from my maps, so the topic of discussion right now is making your own fuel, seed, and fertilizer. Shall we continue that whole trend? Should we try to mix it up maybe with energy weed or something? I need to get your guys' input because it's very crucial on the starting fields. And that was a Grabby Latouche. Thank you for the host there, buddy. It's very crucial on the starting fields to have your at least 3 of them with the different products if we're going to make fuel. Again, we could simplify the fuel process with just 2 products. I definitely want to mix things up, so any of the input that you guys have, you can have input right now. Majority rules on that. I don't care how it's done. If it's kept the same, you like the way it's been working, that's fine. But it's now's the time to decide those things. I could go with 2 crops for fuel. I could try to bring in energy weed or something for fuel. I can do all sorts of. I think somebody's done the energy weed. Um, yeah, like to get some feedback on that. I just do want to mix it up a little bit. We could go back to not making your fuel at all if you want to go back to purchasing your fuel with the Giants standard stuff, and that's a possibility, although I don't think it would be a popular one out there. So if you guys want to have any say something. Alright, we're going to extend this one out a little bit so we can build the field over here. Whoops, a little bit too far. And put a thingamabobber right down there. Perhaps just sugarcane and corn. That's an idea, kind of a biodiesel thing. That's fine. Or yeah, you like the current fuel system, but I'm the maker. I don't have any problem with it. I just want some variety, you know? I I guess it's one of those things. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing maybe, but I always liked the concept of having to make it yourself. What I was thinking about is having the central, if it can be done, and I think it can. I'd have to check the triggers on. Well, it all depends too on what. In the beginning, we might be stuck with buying it through Giants until the scripts catch up, but you never know if our factory scripts are going to work or not, or something else might come along. Who knows? But chances are in the long run we'll be doing some type of fuel making. What I was thinking though would be I was thinking about making the fuel plant automatically fill the farms all basically you're sucking from the one fuel source down at the factory, but the tanks, the fuel doesn't have to be hauled. So basically triggers that all take from the main fuel plant at each location. That's one of the thoughts I was contemplating. So we've got an idea of where this field's going to be going. I think we can get 2 in right here. If we stop it soon enough, we can put another one right down here because this is the wider area. Yeah. So it might be a little bit smaller. But this is your starting farm. So smaller fields are common in the starting area if it ends up being too small. You like that thought? Yeah, that was one of the things I think it can be done. You know, we put the one trigger that's on PV Rivers. If it's the same factory system, it can be done. Or if the UPK works again, it can definitely be done. Just having a central fuel source, you make the fuel, but you don't actually have to deliver it. It automatically disperses to all of the places, so you're not driving fuel around all the time. I want to get you guys back into doing the farming more than running stuff, so things will change in that aspect. It is a farming game. You will have that stuff. It makes the maps different, lots of things to do, but not. I mean, I think, and this was just my crew's observation as well as my own, that we've made it now, and it's nothing wrong with it. I actually enjoy playing the map. It's awesome, rivers, but you can go days without putting a crop in the ground. Literally a long time. And that is what we want to get back to, the core farming and the equipment and stuff a little bit more. Not saying drastically, but that's the plan. And take advantage of the new train system when it comes in and all that fun stuff. I'm going to wait on that field over there because that one's going to be, as well as the one I'm going to put in over here, starter fields. So with the starter fields, like I said before, we're going to put some fertilizer on it because we're going to plant some crops. You really want natural disasters of some sort going on by difficulty level chosen. Natural disasters is something that we've talked about. The script support really hasn't been there for it. Not necessarily natural disasters either. Yeah, possibility of doing some of those things, but more so, I'm going to try to gauge this close to, we got a corner to fix there. More so natural, well, I guess you could have flood, I wish we could alter the weather so you have several days of rain that could flood your fields out and lose crops, or fires that, I don't know, they are disasters, but you could have a drought where it reduces the number of crops that are available. There's got to be more variables. I know Giants has some things in the game that might help that out a little bit. And also, I don't want to make it so the map's too easy and it's just a big a big version of everything else that's out there. So we're going to have some factories and stuff, but I want to simplify things so you can get back to growing a little bit more. That's all. If that makes any sense. And do your farming a little bit more than hauling stuff around for days on end and building. We'll have building projects. I don't think we're going to build the factories this time, but we'll do the several smaller things. That type of thing. We might have, hopefully if the scripts support it, maybe we'll have a system where you can't purchase the factories until you have reach a certain level of till you reach a skill level or have done something. We may have it so you unlock factories by bringing product to them, but I don't know. It's not going to be as drastic as it was in the past. At least not to start. You never know. That's the plan. You never know what's going to happen. New stuff. So that's a starter field, and you can see from a distance there's green in there, but I don't know if it's going to be there or not. But it's the grass growing again. Grass in the starter field. So remove that stuff. Sometimes when you back out it's easy to see, but so there's a grass spot, so ever so small, right there where I missed the terrain. And sometimes they're so hard to see that they get left behind. And I didn't put the fertilizer on. There we go. So, starter field, I'm going to have 3, 4. I'm going to just run this field now into a starter field as well. I think we're going to end up doing 2 for now. I may have to change. I want 3 crops. Actually, I might go to just 2. I don't know if we'll have 2 or 3, but either way, for now, things will change in the future. We're going to look at doing 2 crops for fuel again. Make it a little simple. Bring in different building types too and that thing, I just think that it's time to make some changes and make the map its own standalone. I plan on trying to convert the other maps, and if we just keep doing the same thing, all we end up with is a different landscape and everything else the same. So I'm gonna bring it a little bit different this time. I'm kind of eyeing this up because it's a different texture. Gotta go in a little bit further. It's not gonna be perfect unless I put my line down. Here, let's make a small one. Why not? I have to delete it out, but get my corner right. And I actually had it absolutely correct. Amazing. Alright, continue onward. We're going to get this section all fielded up. And then I'm going to show you guys how to mark your fields. Once again, if I can remember myself. I did do a tutorial on it. And sometimes I have to watch my own tutorials. It's been so long. But I think I can handle it. We'll find out. I'm going to bring this field right over. Fill it right in. And you'll notice I'm leaving much more room in this map in areas. I want to put in some ditches, and I might even put a ditch right down there. Yeah, make it difficult for you guys. No, I want to definitely have room to do some things around the fields, whether it be just to make it a little bit interesting, you know. I'm not even sure that that farm is going to be that size when we're done. But for now, this stuff can always be adjusted later. I'm just trying to make it so I don't have to adjust too much when it comes out, so trying to stick to the basic stuff. And we'll go from there. More relevance for the stuff when choosing difficulty would be, I think they are going to make it, there's going to be more involved. So, depending on how people are going to play it, like we said, every third time having to replow the fields, that's a whole piece of work right there. But it is cool stuff to have to go and do the farming. I think they need to get back to themselves on concentrating on adding some more of the farming stuff, different fertilizers to increase the yields. I think they're going to do that this time as well. So maybe not just doing one pass of granular fertilizer. You may want to go with the granular and manure spread to get a higher yield as well. And that stuff is what farming is, not just run over the field, plant it again, the next day it's ready again. If you've been watching me play Farm Expert, it is so buggy. They did come out with a fix today for the bouncy vehicles, which is a plus. There are some things that are good. The game is really buggy. There are some things that are pointless. I realize they don't have a real economy in that game, so storing stuff in silos is kind of a pointless thing because you can sell it at any given time and make some money, you know? We got some, I'm not sure exactly. I think I'm going to do some trees here as well. So let's get that spot out of there though with the terrain. We don't want rock in the middle. There we go. Alright. So if we have 5 fields up here on the starting farm, 2 that are fertilized. And for now, just so, I mean, this can be deleted later, just so I'm showing you guys, we're going to go back to our foliage layer. And we're going to go to, let's do sugarcane, because sugarcane is oh, we don't even have sugarcane in the map yet. I'm not going to do sugarcane. We're going to put sugarcane in the map. But yeah, we need to get sugarcane and sorghum back in this map so I can plant my starter fields. Let's mark them. Show you guys how I mark these fields. There's a field directory with field number 1. And that's all I have in it. So first thing I do is highlight our field number 1, and let's bring that. I'm trying to think. This would be 1, 2, yeah, this is going to be 1. So if we take field number 1, the transform group under fields, and Control B, and then click. And I didn't set these up yet, so we have to do some things. Let's expand that. Field by trigger. We're going to set those all to 0. Translations, X, Y, Z. That way it appears in the middle of the field whenever I do the Control B click thing. The icon is right there as well. It's already set to translate Y1, 1 off the ground. We'll check out the height of that in the game. Field dimensions. You have a corner 1, corner 2, and corner 3. Let's set those all to 0 as well. Okay? 0, 0, and 0. And 0. Okay, so all our points are at the center of field number 1. You could set these up in a real estate office or whatnot if you wanted to, and just move all the buy icons and the triggers somewhere else. But the standard way is to try to find close to the center of the field. You can look down at it and notice that I'm not exactly centered, but it just has to be close. Control B, click that in the center of the field. Alright, we do have field number 1. What I am doing is I'm going to create field number 2 by duplicating Control D, left Control D, and it made another copy of field 01. I'm going to change that to 2, hit enter. So now I can edit number 1 and move field number 2 to the next field at any given time. I might as well put it over here for now. And we just look down at the center of the field. There we go. Alright, back to field number 1. There we have our marker, and I think we're facing the right direction. We're going to take corner 1, which is the first corner. We're going to go up here, and we're going to highlight the corner, left Control B, click the corner. Whoops, make sure you have it. Sometimes, I don't know, editor bug. Where is my corner coming from? Field dimensions. Oh wait, I didn't, yeah, field dimensions. What's going on here? Where are you, field dimensions? Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing all of a sudden. Field 1. It's not highlighting. Do I have something else selected? We just had it. There it is. Alright. Bravo Chick, thank you for subscribing at the silver level. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You are awesome. I don't know what just happened here, but corner 1 is where now it shows up just fine. Editor problem, not me. Alright, so we clicked corner 1 right there. Corner 2, you're going to make an L shape, top to bottom. So take your second mark and find that corner and do the same thing. Make sure you have corner 2 selected. and there it's just going to put the point mark. And then for the third one, which is up there, we're going to put that one down here as well. Alright, now that we have that done, we have the 3 corners of the field marked, and it defines the field area. Another reason why I stick with square fields is the odd shaped ones are much more difficult to do. But for a square field, we have the 3 corners marked. On corner 3, we have translation 188 and 185, the X and the Z axis. Here is my formula for doing this. Let's see if I can find a calculator. Let me ask Cortana for a calculator, please. It's probably right there on my desktop. It usually is, but there's a calculator. The way I do this is take the X number, 188, and you can round it off if you want, 188.6 we'll call it, and then multiply that by the Z number, which is 185.2, times 185.2, and we have 34,928.72. Now I did several tests on field sizes and came up with the appropriate average number that I use. Once I have that number there, I divide by 12,400. And this field would be 2.81 hectares, basically. 2.81 is our size for, you can round that up to 2.82 if you want, 2.816. So 2.81 hectares for the field. You're going to go in here, field area 2.81, and that's how I size them. Divide by 12,400 gives you a very realistic close average, rather than the way I did it on my first Pleasant Valley map was planted them with the little counter on the class tractors in 2013 and measured them each individually, and then I realized that they all fall relatively close to that. After I charted them all out, yeah, you could probably go to 2.83 or 2.7 something, but I took the average in the middle, 2.81. By dividing that X and Z on corner 3 by 12, multiply those two numbers together and then divide it by 12,400. So once we have that done and we put that into the field area, the field price, and this again I did by taking Hagenstedt map on 2013, and I've stuck with the same formula, a hectare average on Hagenstedt. And why did I close my calculator? Now I got to bring it back up again. I got to bookmark the calculator. It was before my computer reset. Alright, calculator. So if we take that 2.81, and on the Hagenstedt map, fields average per hectare was $45,000. And that's how, whoops, I did it wrong. 2.81 times 45, and you can change this if you want more expensive fields, less expensive, but I'm still going with what Giants had set up in that original map. So my price would be 126,450, 126,450, no spaces in the field price. And that is almost everything we need for field number 1, but there's something else, and I should have done this already before I duplicated it to field 2, but we'll do it. In the add new attribute, you want to type with lowercase o w n e d, capital B Y, and then capital P L A Y E R, and leave it a Boolean value, no spaces, lowercase o b p. I'm pretty sure that's how it is. I might have to check that, it's been so long. But You add that box, and if you check it, we'll find out when we go into the map if that field is owned by player. Now, if I do that over here on field number 2, before I duplicate it next time, I can easily just check any field to be owned. Add the box, and that one's not going to be owned by player, so I'm going to leave it empty. But as I duplicate it to field 3, which is owned, I can just check the box. So I'm going to go in and make sure everything's looking good before I go and do this a million times and make sure my owned by player is working correctly. Case is the only possible thing that could be wrong. I don't know if the O is supposed to be capital or not. So check it out. See what happens. Let's jump out of there and jump in the game. The location of an ATM on rivers. You can hit, there's one down at one of the banks, but insert key. Yeah, for your finances. That's right. KW's got it. And yeah, hit the insert key. That'll do it for sure. There is a key at the key bank. There are ATMs on the map. I think it's at the key bank. It's at one of the banks. And there might be one over at, there is one over at Lydia's Farm Shop as well. Lydia's Farm Shop has an ATM if you want to do it that way. Alright. Moving on. We have our map here with our fields drawn. And if I bring up the large map, hopefully, let's get rid of this box so I can do things. We don't have any number. Where the heck is my number? Where am I? I'm way up there. It should have put the icon on, so something's a little bit screwy. Let me see if I have any errors. The cube map thing. I'm going to have to check and make sure everything else, because something is not quite right. I don't know what it is, but we should have our field numbers up here, and we don't. So let's see what they did differently on this map before we, like I said, that's why we're checking things out before we continue on. No numbers on my map. Should have been 2 and 1 should have been green. Alright. I gotta see what's different on this one than PV Rivers, cause it's been so long. Fields. Field 01. Field by trigger. Icon. Field dimensions. Corner 1. Corner 2 and corner 3. Alright, is there any other possible fields conflicting? I don't see any other field index. So let's go and compare. When in doubt, I have no idea why they didn't show up. So something's different. It could be the field index might not have its properties set right. Something that most of the time the default maps have, so you don't even have to think about it. But something is off here. So we'll load up rivers, which is correct and working. I always use my last map as a reference point if I have something like this happen to check on it. Rivers will take quite a while to load up in the editor, especially with another map running behind it. Come on, you can do it. It shouldn't take this long. Did I change something? There we go. Okay. So we have our field index. Fields. Fields. Right here. Come on. Highlight that. And we need field definition on create. Field definition on create. Let's make sure that's in the field on the other map. Fields. On create. Field definition on create. That is correct. It could be owned by player. Let me check that field out. Make sure that that is correct because, like I said, one little thing off messes everything up. Nope, owned by player is set correctly. Owned by player. Lowercase o. And then you have your field by trigger. With trigger icon to buy the field. And they don't have anything. And then you have your field dimensions. Which, oh, field map indicator's missing. How did that happen? Isn't that's what it is right there. I don't think we see a field. Oh, it's right here. That didn't get placed correctly. Yeah, you want to make sure. That's all. It's been a while. Put your field map indicator at 0 as well. Duh. And there. Do that same thing and it'll appear in the center. Make sure your field map indicator. I'm not looking down below the two groups. There you go. So now our field map indicators are centered and it should show them. We'll save that. Thank you for bearing with my not doing this in so long that sometimes, you know, you forget things. Now we should have everything correctly. But we'll check it anyway. That one should be fine. So your field map indicator is where the little number is going to appear. Yeah, I should have known that right away. Falling asleep here. There you go. So 1 is owned by player. And 2, you could already see it on the mini-map. But for this purpose, there's your 1 and your 2. 1 being owned by player is right here. And 2 is not owned by player. That's that one. So we can continue on marking and sizing these fields and we're good to go. That's a pretty good starter field right there for sure. And that's all you need to know for setting those up. Once you have that done, it's rinse and repeat 1,000,000 times on your map. So take field 2, same thing. Here's our field. You always want to make sure you have your orientation correct, and the way I set this map up, that is north. So everything's in the center. We grab our field dimensions. Corner 1 goes to the top corner, and this is where marking this makes it so that people can't plow or do anything to the field. If you didn't mark it, then they would be able to harvest it even if it wasn't bought. So we're marking our fields. These may change as well. I'm not going to get too much done field wise on the whole map before the release, because in the editor, actually in the videos that I've seen on FarmSim, they show the crop types list in there, and It showed the soybean and the sunflower, but it also had poplar in the menu, which is a tree type. And if the tree type is listed as a crop type, we may be able to do that thing we wanted to do where we plant trees in the fields and we could probably cut them down or something. I don't know what that's all about. Just going by the image, but poplar was in the crop type menu, and you might be able to do something with, like we did. I don't know if you remember Industries. We just left the border and made people plow out their fields. It's a possibility. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I'm only gonna do the first fields here for now and get an idea of what we're doing. So corner 3, right there. We need those numbers in our calculator again. 251.7 times 185.1 divided by 12,400 is 3.75 hectares on this field here. So field 2, 3.75, multiply that times our 45,000 is 168,750. No decimals or anything in that. Not owned by player. And I should have, before I done that all, made a copy of it, but I didn't. So we have to control duplicate, bring in that one onto field 3, change that to field 3. All it means is that the field dimension arrows are going to be copied. Corner 1's not in the right place. It really doesn't matter as much, but I like to start with them all in the middle and corner 2 in the middle, so it's not all out of whack. And what I'm going to do is, and you can do this all at the end if you want, but I'm going to take field 3 and duplicate that one. Now I used to just, so they would line up with each other, I used to just drag the new one right over, but the problem with not clicking it is the terrain height changes. So I always control B click, and it's not, might not be exactly centered, but at least it's on the surface of the ground correctly by doing it that way. And we change that to field 4 and then duplicate that again and put our marker for field 5 right here, and I'm going to duplicate it. I got to change it. Make sure you change the name. That's how it determines what field it is. And then I'm going to duplicate a 6, and I'm going to just move it so I have it for later somewhere out of my way. Okay. So we go to 3, and it's going to be a starter field, so we check the owned by player box, grab corner 1 and do the whole process over again. So I hope for those of you who are new to this helps you out a little bit. This took me forever to figure out in the beginning when I first started map making, and there were no tutorials on marking the fields. And if you have the arrows, don't spin the arrows around. That will mess things up. Leave them in the original direction with the blue arrow pointing south. You'd want all those rotations set to 0. If you start spinning these axes around, your fields will have, and you've probably been on maps in the past and done it, some of you might have, where the field will be bought but have, or not bought, and you could still do half of it from one corner to the other because somebody messed up the corners. That's all there is to it. So continuing on, 121 times 214.4 divided by 12400. 2.09 for this field. That one's pretty small, but it's not so bad. And price-wise, $94,050. 94,050. Mark off field 4. Same way. Interestingly enough, just by where that box is, I could tell that they're not lined up perfectly, but I'm not too concerned about it. And just mark off the edges. Now, if you were to overlap these more, then people would be... I mean, you can make it bigger. You just don't want to get too close to the other field, or you'll be... That's when you don't own this field when you're riding on the edge of the other field. That's why I like bigger space too, because if the points get too close to each other, you'll start getting inside that box when you're doing the edge of this field. If say your sower is overhanging out here, and I left the marker way out here, you'd start getting "you don't own this field" messages while you're doing the whole edge, and I'm sure you guys have seen that on some of the fields, even that I've created. But a decent sized gap and corners marked. Now, if the corner was inside here, they'd be able to actually harvest the corner because it wasn't part of the marked field as well. So just try to get them as close and leave enough room in between, and then you see, when you see things like this little spot here, fix them right away. Whoops. So you don't have them when they pop up. I often have those little grass spots, and that's why I have testers to find them for me. 142.1 times 207.3 divided by 12,400 is 2.37 on this field for size. And price wise, 106,650. Whoops, too many numbers. That definitely, you don't want to pay $1 million for that field. Onward, and that one is not owned by player. Make sure you take that checkbox off. And then we just have one more for today. Did I just do mark the wrong field? Field 3, corner 1. I did. That's what... Oh my gosh. I'm out of my mind. It is owned by player, field 3, by the way. I just marked the wrong field. Yeah, it can happen. Make sure you grab the right field corners. Because that'll really screw things up. You think that you think that just having the mark in or out a little bit is going to screw things up. We already have the price. That does not change from field 4. Is 3.75. And the... Oh yeah, where am I? Right here. 168,750. Alright, now we can do field 4. I knew something was out of whack there. Corner 1. I was like, wait a minute. Now I'm going to fix this corner while we're at it. Make it a little bit squarer with a much smaller brush. There we go. Turn that off. Take my corner. Field 4. It's very easy with the way these things scroll around to grab the wrong one, especially when you have multiples open like that. So make sure you have the right corner on the right field or you're going to have a problem. And I've done that many times when I was first starting out, and I might do it again. Back to my foliage, I can see the edge isn't straight here perfectly. Corner 2. Corner 3. And size-wise, Coors Row, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Size-wise, we're going to do 141.6 if you're just joining us. Marking up the fields with my formula, which is x times the y, x times z translation. So it's which you get right here after you mark that third corner, times 206.8, and divide that by 12,400, and we've got 2.36 for field 4. Size, and then my hectares are 45,000 a piece, so times 45,000, 106,200. And then we just have field 5 here to repeat the process. So they are actually still yet 2 and 3 hectare fields are pretty good sizes. I want 5 to be the average when we get down below. On your map, the terrain control works on fields north to south, but not on fields east to west. Terrain control. I'm not exactly sure what terrain control you're using. What do you mean by terrain control? This is actually the FS15 editor, and we will have to convert this. That's why I'm not getting into a lot of the script stuff and the detailed stuff right now. I'm just marking and some of this might have to change, but there will be a conversion process to convert the maps, and I'm just setting up basics right now. So yeah, I don't have the new editor. I'm using the old editor. When the new one comes out, they're supposed to come with instructions to convert it, and I could be wasting my time completely, but you never know. If that's the case, at least I'm teaching while I'm doing it. So, and a lot of this stuff may change slightly. We'll cover that when the editor comes out and we get a little bit closer. Field 5, field dimensions. Most of this stuff hasn't changed since I started map making. The conversion process is probably going to be more the scripts that underwrite things. There may be some new definitions or little things to add in here or there, but because they can be converted with a few changes here and there, and like I said, I think it's mostly going to be scripts. I'm trying to get a little bit of a head start. It's Phoenix Games. How you doing? Thank you for the follow. So we're getting a little bit of a head start by using the FS15 editor, and we'll see what happens when we go to convert it. I've been watching Giants and getting as much info as I could on what's coming out. I guess that if you went to the FarmCon or something, they literally gave out the Giants Editor 7.0 beta version. So some people out there in the real world actually are using the new one, but there's no way other than that being there to access it. If you guys come across a copy, I'd love it. If anybody has one, it would be sweet to have. Then I could stop guessing. But for now, this is all I got to work with. Whoops, too many numbers. 252.4 times 208.1 divided by my 12,400 is 4.23. That's a pretty good size field, actually. So 4.23 times $45,000 a hectare is 193.50. Now, I don't always stick to the formula. I'm doing this for the starting farm for sure. That one's not owned by player. That one isn't. Okay, but one of the things I like to do, and you'll probably see me do later in this map, is premium areas of the map. Why did I leave a big grass strip down there? What the heck happened? Oh, there's grass growing there. What did I do to get grass growing everywhere all of a sudden? I must have hit a wrong button. But one of the things that you can... Let me switch to grass. And get rid of this stuff. There's grass growing on the side of my mountains. Man, didn't show up before until I replaced the textures. That might be why it's so easy to see now. What was I saying? I have no idea. I got lost there seeing all this crap. I can't remember. This program is Giants Editor 6.03, and it's available on Giants Developer Network website. It also comes with the game, but not the updated version, I don't think. I guess if you bought the game today, Farming Sim 17, you would have the updated version with it. But you can always get it by registering for the Giants Developer Network. Just GDN, and they have all the tools you need. Yeah, look at all the grass just showing up on my map. Gotta delete all that stuff. We don't want that yet. Oh, you know why? I know exactly why it's there. Because we changed the bit sets, and that's why I needed to change the bit sets before we got crazy with adding new things in, because we changed the bit set so it can hold 64 fill types at the beginning of the map, and what happens is different things appear differently. So if we had there was probably weeds here before, and now it's showing as a very low grass. And yeah, that's what happens when you mess with the bit sets to make it a 64 fill type map. Alright, so we'll close that out. I know that's going to work. I'm going to get my sugarcane in the map and plant. Maybe we'll do sugarcane and sorghum at the same time, and at least have them on the fields for our two crops. Yeah, some of the places, a lot of the places on the last map, and that's going to happen if you're doing big road trains. I mean, you got to look at several factors when it comes into, I mean, if you have big drive-through areas all the time, it kind of takes away from the design. It's hard to build around big road trains. And a lot of the buildings I put into the last maps were already designed. I'm not a 3D modeler, so it is very tough to figure out things. You're going to be able to get road trains on this map, but you are going to definitely have, and I didn't even want to open this up here, you're definitely going to have a different, actually I got to close the editor because we're going to make changes to the map. You definitely don't want to, yeah, make too many changes to buildings and stuff. If everything is road train friendly, you're going to have just big pass-throughs right down the middle. It's a compromise. Let's see. I usually try to make it so I can get a couple vehicles attached through them, but beyond that, We shall see. Let's see. I'm trying to follow your thing here. Where your tractor sink in and slows down is if the map that should be not in any field. Oh, the fields themselves. I have no idea why it does that. Uh, that's built into the Russian script. I don't even know how it works to tell you. The script, I just grabbed the script. I never even noticed if it doesn't work north or south. But it is in the terrain control Lua, and that thing is beyond my comprehension, trying to even read through that thing. So, good luck with that. I'm gonna go back to if it doesn't work completely the way it's supposed to, I can't help it. Unless it's just your map, I never really pay attention to that stuff. So foliage sublayer to get to or search, and here are foliage sublayers, and we want to grab sugarcane. So we're going to repeat this process a couple times too, so you guys can get the hang of it. Foliage sublayer, I'm in the PV Rivers map. We're going to grab sugarcane and copy the foliage the whole line, and we're going to go find the same section in here in the new map, and you will find right with all the other crops there's a couple sections, but here's where we just put our millet in. So we're going to put it with the other crops, sugarcane, then make the appropriate changes so it's in our map. Appropriate changes are density map index, one more than the last one, so we got 15, 16, this one's going to be number 17. Density map channel offset is fine. Material ID 60. You notice, and I'll make a quick point about this, you realize the millet number changed back to a new number in the indexes. When we save and reload, it does that automatically, so we don't have that big 100,000 in anymore. You just have to have a really high number so you don't duplicate something in the map. And when it's a 2-digit number, I don't know why I do this, it's easier for me to remember maybe. I do 99960 for the material ID. And everything else there. So we gotta go grab the material for sugarcane from the map here, which we know is 60 in this map. So search, find, we're going in the up direction, and in quotes we'll put 60, and once we have you got to make sure it's the material ID of 60, not the cost power. That's not a very, there we go. Material ID 60 is the foliage sugarcane material. We're going to copy that and put that in the materials section, which is just above the foliage layers. Once again, before the last materials tag, and rename that to 99960 so it matches down below. Our custom shader, I should have wrote it down. I think it was 42 for crops, not 72, but let's go down and check. Well, it's not going to be down there. We can check the one right above it. Silly me. Where'd it go? Foliage sugarcane. Actually, it can reorder this stuff too. So if we look for, let's see, what am I trying to think of? Wheat. That'll work. Wheat windrow, no. We want to find foliage wheat mat. Custom shader is 42. So that's the shader we need on all of our things. I'm going to write that down this time. custom shader for crops is 42, not 72. I was right, but always good to double check. Whoops, went too far. Get back to where we were, change that custom shader ID to 42. Texture 129 is going to be 100129, but we have to find out what texture that was by going over into this map that we took it out of and search for that texture file, 129, in quotes. Going upwards even further, we will come to the texture file 129, foliage sugarcane diffuse, right there. So we're going to copy that line and put it up with the files, which are up toward the above all the materials. I'm going to just try to find it here. There's a lot of stuff in these. There you go. Put that line and make sure we change the file ID to the 100129. So in the textures foliage folder, we need the foliage sugarcane diffuse file from the other map, which is right here. PV rivers, textures, foliage, and we find the sugarcane LMNOP. Where are you? Foliage sugarcane is right here. Now, you notice how there's distance diffuse for like the sorghum, but there isn't sugarcane? Because those files aren't here, I know that we're probably using the wheat or some other crop distance files for that, just because the files aren't here. So we're going to copy that foliage sugarcane diffuse into our new map where it's looking for it, which is in textures foliage with all the other ones, and paste that in there. That part's done. It's right with all our other ones, the millet we added. So that is that. Now let's go back down to the foliage sublayer and get the distance map IDs that we need. Which sugarcane, we've got 65, 90, 91, 92, 94. So let's go back over here, and we're going to have to search for these and see what files they are. 65. See what it's pointing to. So 65 in this map is what? Acre fine distance diffuse. Why would it be that? That's weird. Let me go down and make sure that those are right in this thing. But if it is that, I don't know why. It would be. Could be just screwed up and nobody ever noticed. Or it doesn't show up that much. I'm trying to get back to that foliage sublayer in this map. Right down here. Sugarcane, where are you? Sugar beet, sorghum, sugarcane. Is it really 65? Yeah, it is. 65. I guess that a lot of them are 65s, so everything in there is 65. It's the same as the wheat. I guess that's what the first number points to. I don't know. I just copy and paste. So it's the same as all the other ones, the first number in all the other crops, which is 34 in this map. That 65 is going to go to 34. Now the 90, 91, 92 are all going to be a series that probably are in another crop here somewhere. Let's see where else they are. They're in the corn. 90, 91, 92 And the 57 is in the corn also. So if we just copy, it's the same exact thing as corn is. So if we find corn in this map, we can actually copy all those over. Maize. Here, we don't need you anymore. So maize for the distance, there's 34 different numbers, but you got it. They correspond to the files up above. Those are the numbers we want in here instead. Let's see if that works. There's a lot more than there were in the other one. I don't think that is, maybe we, let me undo that real quick. 90, 91, 92, 94. So maize is, they don't have as many distance map IDs for this crop as corn does, I just realized. So it's 62, 63, 64, 66. The last one is going to be the same as the very last one in here, which is 67. Right? Yep, okay. So that should be in. Let's check it out. Everything else is good. Those all point to files like 62, just so to remind you real quick. If we do a search for that 62 in quotation marks and go upwards, it's going to point to these files, and it is the maize distance diffuse 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6. So all the maize, and it's basically sugarcane is using it, and that is a good way to do things if the colors and stuff are similar, because it saves having extra files and a larger map size. So if we load this up in the editor, sugarcane should now also appear in the menu, and we shouldn't have any errors on that part. Take it easy, Brill 2K. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. Get some sleep. Thank you for coming from Norway. We don't have any new errors. That's good. And I have to get rid of that other one that we do have there. If we go to the foliage layers, and Numpty Boz, thank you for the follow. You'll see that sugarcane is now in as a foliage layer. And now, just to check it out, we will make our first default field here painted in sugarcane. So we select foliage and then bits 7 and 8 like I discovered earlier on. Add, set, and set your brush to whatever you want size wise. I like to do these painting in relatively small so I can hit the field. Set to 10, and we have fully grown sugarcane, which looks exactly like it should. So this week I will work on adding the rest of the crops in, and hopefully we can get a few more, and we'll show you how to get it functioning properly in the map as well. Just because it's there doesn't mean we can harvest it yet. We have to copy over. We got to set up that that's a lot of ifs too, because there's scripts that run that. So I don't know how far we want to get, but we can. It's pretty easy to set up, so it's not going to be we got to get the materials in the map for the harvesters and stuff, but some of that stuff might change. I'm sure there will be a process when the new editor comes out to do that stuff in. If all else fails, I'll have another map for 15 someday. No, this stuff should be pretty easy to convert. There may be changes, but getting a lot of stuff done that is the basic stuff that we need doesn't hurt ahead of time. So we're sticking to terrain and crop. I've decided to go ahead with the crops because from what I could tell from looking at the Giants videos, and I did purchase that whole series from FarmCon and watched all the modding stuff, information. Information is key. I think that nothing really is going to change except for the material holders. Will probably contain some more stuff by what they're talking about. For, say, we don't have a material holder in the map for the particles on the headers. It looks like that. All that stuff will be in the new material holders. If it's in there, then any piece of equipment can show the proper textures. But other than that, I think most of it's already in this version. So hopefully there won't be too much converting problems. Just draw it right up to the edge of your field. Whoops. And not off your field like I just did. It's debatable if you want to put that last row in. It's right on the edge. I guess it probably looked better if it went to that point. Fill up the whole field. It's right on the edge. Might not be plantable again, but it might be. So once you have your border done like that, it's much easier to make a bigger box and just fill it all in. There you go. We have a starter field full of sugarcane, which, interestingly enough, it does have some funky colors in my sugarcane, but I kind of grabbed the images off the internet when I made this. I redid the sugarcane texture because to me it didn't look like real sugarcane, the old flaky texture that didn't have any stubble on the fields. This one seemed to work much better. And I took it from images off the internet. It's the only crop type I ever actually edited myself. So, our crop is added to the map, and it's already been a couple hours show, so we're gonna take one look at it, and then we'll call it an evening. But let's take a look and make sure everything looks good one more time. I will, like I said, work on getting some of the other ones in, and then maybe on Friday, when we come back, we can... Oops, I don't want to jump. It's habit, multiplayer game. We can look at the material holders and the multi-fruit stuff just to get this working on this map. So we can test things as they come along. I'm going to actually as well... Alright, so where is it? Let's see, it's over here somewhere. You can see we have 1 and 3 are green, and 2, 4, and 5 are starter fields. Right here is our sugarcane growing, all planted. And it's interesting because, remember in the editor, this edge looked like I was planting it on the edge, but actually it's right up to the edge of the field. So it's good to go. Hey, Meesman1982, how you doing? Looking good. And that is how you create a starter field in Giants Editor 2015 version. It's version 6.02. That might have been the edge. See, it's a little bit in the grass. That's probably the edge that I was looking at in the editor, but it's close enough to fill up the field. I hate having that big gap on the edge of a field, but it's all where things fall, you know. So, hey Chetty, you're late to the show. I'm just about to go. But hey, nice to talk to you. Nice to see you guys out there. Very good. I have to make a sorghum field up here. And I don't think, I'm going to try, I don't think that the harvester, I think the harvesters will work, but I don't think we'll have any grain planes in them. But let's just check it out for, oh, we need a header. Just for the heck of it. I don't really care which one, as long as I'm going to drive this up there. It might work already, but it probably won't show the grain planes, the materials. Might need the multi-fruit standard module in there for it to work on the in-game header. I can't remember. It all has to go in eventually anyway, but my guess is this one won't work. But a modified header with sugarcane in the description would. And we will get this to work on Friday. Manraj 11, how you doing? It's good to see some names out there I haven't seen in a while, or haven't seen before. I don't have the reset vehicle point saved for the new farm. We'll have to stick that in so I don't have to do all the driving and the testing. But it can be done. I don't think... Oh, do I have the teleport mod in here? Look, yeah, I can teleport, but where to? What corner are we in? Up here somewhere? There we go. That's better. I have the teleport mod. I just don't have the mini-map. We gotta plant some grass. I wanted to get the bit sets fixed, and now we can work on doing some of the grass around here as well. Can I make a gooseneck tipper? I cannot. I do not do any modeling, and I don't do much mod work other than editing stuff. Big Daddy on the team, he's not here tonight, but he's much better at that stuff. I just do maps. I don't do models. I purchase some models, find them, but let's see, how do we run a harvester? Unfold. I don't think it's going to do anything. Let's hire a worker. See what he does. Yeah, it's not going to harvest until we get some stuff, more stuff in the map. But there you go. Thanks guys for watching. On Friday we'll get the rest of it working. We do have the textures in the map and everything working for a couple new crops. I have so many more to bring in, but then we'll be able to mess around with, and I might even plant the fields on the map this time just to make it look good. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. I don't know if he can make a gooseneck tipper, but he might be able to piece something together. I'm not sure what's out there and what's available, because he doesn't do modeling either, but he does work magic with mods, so it'd be really cool if it did. Alright, Amaki and everybody else, I am out of here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you back here on Friday, if not sooner, with something else. You never know. And thanks for the late host, Viper, but I'm done. And Viper's crew. It's time for me to go. And we'll continue working on this thing as time goes on until 2017 comes out. Everybody have a great night.